Some of you are trying to find a husband or trying to find a wife. Some of you are a brand new husband or a wife. Fire up Starboard, ya Omar, and let's take a look at this and let's read some relationship advice. Relationship advice, the source of it is Quran and Sunnah and Hikmah. Hikmah. What's the proof that where does wisdom come from? Wisdom can come from anyone with experience and thoughtfulness. The sources of knowledge are Quran and Sunnah and Hikmah here. Because this is a tajribi. A lot of marriage is tajribi by nature. Tajribi is by trial and error. And you can take from the hikmah of a non-believer. The proof of that is the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-hikmatu dalatul mu'min. فهو يعني أين وجدها فهو أحق بها. Wherever he finds it, has more right to it. That means you found the wisdom with a non-believer. Why is wisdom the lost? Is a Muslim have more right to wisdom because he's going to use it properly, right? Wealth is better in the hands of somebody who will use wealth properly than someone who won't use wealth properly. So that's a simple reason. So you can travel the world and read books and go on the internet and find a lot of wisdom, and that's what our mentors have done. The way this works is that you get you will sign up for a class, and then you could continue with the mentor, communicate with the mentor on email if you choose. But you have a mentor. It's mentorship. You don't have to have problems to do this. Some people are just not, they don't have problems, but they're not good husbands. They don't have problems, but they're not good wives. You could be a lot better, right? Most of us, we don't have any sicknesses, but we can use a physical fitness mentor, right? You don't have to have a sickness to need that, okay? To need a mentor in physical fitness. Well, here's a guy who has some decent advice. He says, be together, be married. We'll just take 3. Be married for the right reasons. Right. The foundation of marriage has to be sound and right in the first place, and that's very important. I mean, just don't be with somebody because you got pressured to. Let me tell you, there's a lot of brothers who have been pressured to marry their relatives so that the relative could get a green card. Sometimes, let's say a mom, she's got a niece in another country. She'll use her son, marry the niece, bring her over, and she'll really pressure the kid to do this. I mean, does it get any more haram than this? And you, as a Muslim man, need to know your rights. You can never be forced into this, ever. And if she says, "Uqsimu billahi," I'm not pleased with you on the day of judgment, it's batil. Not every "Uqsim billah," I'm not pleased with you is valid, right? Okay, is it possible to say, I'm not pleased with you on the day of judgment if you don't go steal? Of course not, right? If you pray, I'm not pleased with you on the day of judgment. Of course not, right? So not every phrase, I'm not pleased with you, is valid. It's invalid. Oh, be careful, the dua of the mom. Well, oh Allah, throw fire and brimstone on his head. He's not doing what I said. It's an invalid dua, right? I remember a guy came up to a friend of mine, and he accused him of something that the guy had not done. And he said, Wallahi, and he was so energetic, and you were very emotional. Wallahi, I make dua on you right now. Now the guy got scared. So luckily, he had an imam near there, and he said, you don't even have to lose a millisecond of sleep on that dua, because it's not true, it's not valid. Just because you utilize the word dua, just because you utilize the word raji, not raji, it doesn't mean it's truth. It means absolutely diddly squat zero. Okay? You may be afraid of it. It's peer pressure. Peer pressure is scary. Imagine family pressure. The mom's pressuring you. Her being upset is a problem by itself. You're going to be upset. If you're connected to your mom and your mom's upset, you're going to be upset. But that doesn't mean those threats have any validity with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Have no validity with Allah. Okay? They have no meaning. They're kalmadum, essentially, right? It's as if it's nothing. So you don't have to worry about that. So being pressured to marry someone is one of these, you're setting yourself up for disaster. It's the number one probably source of disaster. Here's another one. A cousin gets close to a woman. He's so nice, but something inside the woman just doesn't want to marry him, right? She just doesn't feel like she wants to marry him. But she sort of feels bad for rejecting him. Sister, this is not his right. You feel bad? Yes, you can feel bad about it, but it's not his haqq. So when you feel bad about it, that means reject in a nice way. Like, you can say a lot of nice things, have your dad do it, say, wallah, you're a great guy. It's just, there's no nasib here, right? There's no, it's not going to work out. Nobody owes anyone marriage. This family has done so much for us. He's done so much. And now the son has come to propose, right? They have helped us out in our life so much in different ways. We can never repay them. Now the son is coming to propose to our daughter for marriage. The daughter's like, we love that family, yeah, but I don't want to marry him. You cannot pressure her to do that, to return a favor. It's not how it works. This is a great piece of advice. Marry for the right reason. Don't marry because of some pressure or some family, business between the two. Let alone for papers. I mean, that's probably not only illegal, but it actually is illegal. But of course, they don't know your intention. But they do come check every few years to make sure you're legitimate. By the way, they have a hack now. The government, because they know people marry for papers all the time. They have a hack now where they'll come back and they'll rescind your papers if they discover it was a fake. So first of all, they investigate you in the first place to see if you're actually married. Then they make it a long process because you got to stay married. Then if you pass that and you stay married, the last I heard, if they come back after years and they check on you, if it turns out that you did fool them, they rescind the papers. That's what I heard. Someone in the law can address that. We're launching Starboard today. As you see, this gorgeous website, starboardmarriage.com is up. Omar, can you stick it in the chat? Starboardmarriage.com is being soft launched today. We are now capable of taking clients, mentees. They are mentors and mentees. It's a mentor-mentee relationship. A lot of people need this program, says Lakes. They're out here traumatizing people left, right, and center. Okay? People being traumatized. People don't know how to be married. People don't know their head from their toes. And they go get married, and then they wonder 3 weeks later, 3 months later, why they come back crying in the masjid. Wait, why are you coming crying to me when you never studied this matter? Okay? So here's a guy who testifies, and he says that I got married. My family encouraged me to marry. I felt like I wanted to wait a little bit. They kept pushing me. So I got married, and I was miserable. I thought that time would fix things, but I was wrong. I myself was not ready to be married. Okay? So I got divorced. Now, someone gets hurt because of that now, because you got pressure from friends. Or here's this. Sometimes your aunts and uncles, you genuinely can't find the right person, but your aunts and uncles, your aunties, mostly the aunts and the women in the family, they push it so hard because time's passing. Right? So that family pressure, time's passing, and I just have to marry someone quick because it just doesn't look right. How could you be entering 30, 31, 32, 35, 37, 38, 40 and not married? What's wrong? Right? Now, I have to be very careful when I talk like this because many people do have valid reasons. Right? So be mindful that these generalizations are just, there is exceptions to the rule so that no one feeling gets hurt. All right? Sometimes they marry because you just cannot say no to this family. That's another reason people get married. This family, they're so well off. They're so well liked. They got so many popular people in the family. You just can't say no to this family. That's wrong. person, and I know a guy who married for that reason. Luckily, he stayed married, but the main reason he married was because he admired the brother so much. But well, the brother and the sister are two different creatures, right? They're totally different people, right? You don't marry to have a brother-in-law. You're not marrying for a brother-in-law. You're not marrying for a sister-in-law. You're marrying for the person. And the opposite's true too. The opposite's true too, right? You marry for the person who may have come from a terrible family. The Pride and Prejudice is all about, right? You read that book?
Yeah. It's one of my favorites, actually.
It's one of your favorite books, right? The mom, she's loud, she's terrible, she has no tact, she's an embarrassment wherever she goes. One of the daughters or two of the daughters are a complete embarrassment wherever they go, but two of the daughters are perfect, right? They're tactful, they're tasteful, they're polite. Okay, everything's perfect. So some people stay away from that family just because of two members. That's false too, right? That's terrible. So it's bad for them because they people want to stay away from. But it's not a reason to stay away from somebody. You may have, in fact, sometimes the thorniest bush produces the best rose. You like that analogy, right? So because they've seen what a bad person looks like. They've seen what a misbehaving girl looks like. So by contrast, they actually become the best. Sometimes you find that in families. Why do you find two polar opposites? Because, well, for some reason, one went one way, and the next kid along says, oh, that's a bad result. Let me go the opposite way. Fix that mushaf, will you? Yeah. So sometimes you have mixed families for it's very obvious why. Just set it straight. Yeah. So there we go. So it's obvious why families are mixed, because one went so far in a bad direction, the other saw the result and became really good. So sometimes the idea of the black sheep in the family is a wisdom, right? I've saw off one family, the oldest person, he was a miserable guy, right? Every decision he made was bad, like really bad. But what did that do? It was a blessing in disguise. Because all the siblings, the younger siblings, were like, whoa, that's a bad decision. That's a bad decision. I ain't doing that. The dad could have probably given speeches to them ad nauseum. It wouldn't have had the same effect as seeing your brother go down that path. Sometimes it's a girl who goes down the bad path. But we all see it and we say, I don't want that. So sometimes people will stay away from a family, whereas in fact, no, there's a treasure in that family. It's actually because of the presence of that bad person, she became good or he became good. Here's another one. Someone looks too good. All right? A girl is so pretty, you can never say no to her. So he basically got intoxicated with her beauty. So now you do have a reason. No one's pressuring you, but it's still the wrong reason. That the beauty is fine, but it needs to be followed up with an acceptable deen from the sister. And in Islam, the Prophet's advice is to look at the deen of the person. The personality may not come out a lot, right? The personality of a sister, I mean, maybe today I think everyone's personality comes out a lot, right? People aren't shy the way they used to be. But if you look at the Prophet's advice, personality is, or khuluq, is look for the khuluq of the man, the deen and the khuluq. But when he mentions the woman, he mentions the deen only. Well, one of the reasons for that is that it's possible and likely that a woman can adapt more than a man. So if a woman is with a loud guy, she can adapt to that. If she's with a quiet guy, she can adapt to that. Allah knows best. Maybe it's a wisdom of the Prophet that women can adapt, so don't worry so much about how she is now. The way she is now, maybe because her dad's a certain way. Well, you're the opposite kind of guy, so she'll be the corollary personality to you. So you can't really judge it. Whereas a guy, his personality is what it is. His khuluq is out there. He's out there. You can ask about him. And usually that's the case. People really don't do a lot of background checks on the women, if you think about it. When a man proposes, he sees this picture of what their family's like, what she's like, and he proposes. And they do a background check on the guy. So marrying for image. There was a guy one time. This is a funny story. Pretty sad, but funny. There was a girl who couldn't get married for a long time. She was not getting a lot of proposals, and it's a big tribulation in life. Nothing to laugh about. You wouldn't want it on your daughter. You wouldn't want it for yourself. The day comes along, she gets a very guy's like 6'1", and he's a doctor, and he proposes, and he's very handsome, right? The family's like, finally, Allah's answered our dua. They're head over heels. They're just gone nuts, right? Now the dad, he's not buying it. He's just not buying it, right? This makes no sense. One, why is he not married yet? If he's so educated, so well off, he's a doctor. He's 6'1", they get head start in life, right? It's truth. You're taller, you get advantages, little micro advantages, so many over life that you advance beyond other people, right? Some people could screw it up and some people take advantage of it. So the dad's sitting there, he's not buying it. A guy like that, why would you propose to somebody who is less endowed? We can say that, okay? Without making anyone feel bad or saying anything, but that's just how we describe it, right? He's not buying it. So he contacts the guy for a private meeting. And he says to him, come on, we're both guys. What's going on here? You should be proposing to the most, worthy of brides out there, of women out there. Handsome, doctor, all that. So he says, Wallahi, I'm nothing. I just met your daughter and I love her. It's okay. I need to see your background paperwork. I need to see your credit score. And I need to see your medical report. He didn't hear anything from her for 2 weeks. He called him back. I need to see your papers before we continue. Something's going on here. Okay. The guy then sends a friend to tell the dad he's withdrawing his proposal. Okay. Something's up with this guy. Probably when you got so many advantages in life, you messed around, you got yourself some STDs, right? And that's what he got. He had STDs. Yes, maybe he made Toba now. Fine, we can accept that. That doesn't change certain consequences that you got STDs. Who is all this? Who are you guys? We got guests. Pennsylvania? You guys from Pennsylvania? Where are you from?
From Newark.
Ahlan marhaban. Come, move down. Brother,
From ICPC.
come. ICPC. We need some corn nuts or peanuts for our guests here. Oh, good. MashaAllah. Allahu Akbar. All right, give some nuts to our guests. We got 6 guests in the house today. All single men. Perfect. You need to learn so you can get married. What? You're not single. That means you're married. You're married, MashaAllah. Married or engaged? Married. Okay, very good for you. So we got 5 eligible bachelors here. But this guy, he had the STD, by the way. All right? And in this example that I gave. Okay, maybe he made Toba, but the consequences of your sins stay with you, though. That's why certain sins, you got to stay away from them. And the dad had the common sense to say, this is not adding up. But if the dad had not said anything, the girls would not have asked. Okay? The girls would not have asked. The mom and the daughter were so head over heels, they can't believe this guy proposed. They would have just said yes. So that is, again, no peer pressure, but wrong reason. Just because of the image on the outside is so amazing, right? And that's actually one of the disadvantages of well-endowed people. When we say well-endowed, means Allah has been generous to them. Their appearance, their height, their family, their wealth, all that is they don't face a lot of challenges. So their character is not as chiseled. It's not as developed. Whereas people who are less endowed, they got better. They got more challenges in life. Their character, they face more fire from people, right? All these guys face red carpets all day. Red carpets, red carpets. Everywhere they go, red carpets. Well, where's your character going to get tested from? Whereas people who are less endowed, sometimes they have the best character. That's why the spirit, the soul of every group of people is oftentimes someone with a severe issue, a severe negative. He's the spirit of the group. He's the beating heart of the group because he's got character. He's got character. He's one of the building blocks, the core team members of a group. He's got character because he suffered. At every turn, he suffers a little bit, right? So that suffering builds character. And these other guys with the red carpet, he red carpeted himself into an STD. Everywhere he goes, the girls are swooning for him, right? What did it get you? It got you an STD. And now you can't marry anybody. But those guys, who should a guy who lived that life marry? Another woman who lived that life and made tawbah from it. Allah says in the Quran, "Azani la yankihu illa zanin aw mushrik." What that means is, it doesn't mean it has to be. It does not mean that. We covered that, and we put that in the malikifiqwa.com. What it means is that this is who will understand you most, right? That means if you are a guy and you lived that club life and that scene for 10 years, then you fixed your act together. You need a woman who lived in that life too. She's gonna you'll be saying, yeah, I got her CDs, right? She's probably got one too, right? If you got the same one, no worries, right? I don't know how it works, but doesn't that make sense, right? If you got the same one, you neutralize each other out, all right? If you don't have the same one, you already got one, now you're going to get two, right? Insurance will probably cover it anyway. But yeah, at least you could tell the sister, you could say it openly, she said it openly, at least you have the same background. Also, if she relapses or you relapse, which is possible, husband and wife can relapse into that world, it is going to be bad, but not otherworldly, not you have not shaken her existence. She used to do the same thing, right? Whereas if you marry a completely pure woman and you're a guy from the clubs and you made Toba, you and her do not match. If you slip up, your slip up is for her, you just shaked up her world. She never talks to guys, let alone sleeping with them. And when you shake up, your shake up is not that you texted a sister. No, the door for you, that path to Zina is a trodden path. Trodden path means there are no weeds. It's straight. And you know how to get there so easily. And you do it. It's not a shock to you. You've done it 100 times before. So when you do that, fall into that sin, you've shaken up her world. You are in Mars right now. You're in a world, this is not a world she knows. Talks to one guy, says assalamu alaikum, she says astaghfirullah after that, right? That's the world that you married into. So she cannot even fathom that world. Likewise, but if you married another girl, she used to be in the same scene that you were in, and you tripped up and did that, that is a world she knows. Yes, she'll be upset, it's bad and all that, but it's not a complete shattering, earth-shattering shock, right? It's a world that you both used to live in. That's one of the wisdoms for that. Okay. A lot of times a guy, he thinks that he could just turn it on and turn it off. Khalas, I made Tawbah. Yeah, but that doesn't change the consequence of who you've become after that. You've made Tawbah. All right, so I'm going to squander all my money. My credit score is negative. No one will rent to me. I made Tawbah, khalas, astaghfirullah, paid off my debts, and that's it. Your credit score is still negative. How are you going to build a family with this, right? So that's the second reason is marrying because the image is too good, right? And then their person has a past and it doesn't work. So that's another mistake that people make. Here's another one. Your first love. People, when they experience first love the first time and they imagine that they love someone, oftentimes you really do need an older person's perspective who knows where you're headed in life. That's a big difference, right? That's a big piece of advice. Like, where are we headed in life? Because one guy may be headed directly to poverty. That's where he's headed. He's got no future. He's not into that stuff. He's headed direct. She may be someone who's actually headed to wealth. The trajectories are so off, and you can't get married on a hopefully he'll change. You definitely can't do that. Some women these days, I should say a lot of women these days, they're so driven and their trajectory is so clear, and they're on the path to making six figures by age 27. By age 40, if she invests properly, she'll have a bank account with 7 figures in it. But this guy's head is so spaced out, in good or bad, doesn't make a difference. Spaced out is spaced out. You be spaced out in the good too. He's so spaced out. This guy is not even headed to 5 figures. He's not even hireable, let alone if he was to save. But and anyway, a guy can't save. Any husband, 90% of his paycheck goes for expenses. If he saves anything, he's lucky. But in Islam, the woman, no, it shouldn't be like that. It could be if she donates it to her household, but it should not have to be that way. And in most cases, she can afford to save a lot more. So therefore, her wealth and earning will keep increasing. So there's no shame if a woman makes more money than a man, as long as the man is covering what the Sharia requires for him and what the urf requires too. There's urf, don't forget. Sharia requires me what? Give you a loaf of bread every day. There's a ceiling there, and there's a clothes on your shirt on your back. There's electricity there. What do you want? That's also, there's urf as part of Sharia. Urf. So there is urf, customs. It's customary to have a bunch of clothes. It's customary to have decent food. It's customary to have meat every once in a while. It's customary to have chicken pretty regularly. It's customary to have a house certain size, certain number of rooms, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there are these customary things that we have to take into account as well. And so it's okay if he's fulfilling that and she has more money than him, that's fine. She hasn't necessarily proven herself better. He's paying for everything else. She's just gets to save more and invest more. Makes sense, right? But nonetheless, let's hypothetically say, even if she was paying for the same stuff, she's just better at work. She's better at making money. As long as he's fulfilling his Sharia obligations, there should be no shame in that, right? Fine, she makes a bit more money, no problem. But she's still living off of my paycheck, my sweat. That's fine. That's what the husband should be. In most case scenarios, remember everything I said here, there's exceptions. There could be an exception where the guy gets hurt, she refuses to leave him, right? And she ends up taking care of him. It's very likely out there in the world somewhere, that's happening to somebody. There should be no shame in that. And it could be some other weird situation where life, he fell on some stumbling blocks in life and she didn't, and she ends up paying for the bulk of things. But what's important, we're saying that's an exception. That's not the rule. They didn't get married planning that. Right? It's not the deal. Anyway, having said that, it is a problem if the disparity is way too much. It doesn't even feel right in society. She's a surgeon, and he's, let's say, I don't want to say anything because it's going to offend somebody, but let's say he's a poet, and he releases a poem, 300 poems, maybe one gets published, and he gets $1,000 for the publication. Right? Every time he releases a poem. It doesn't even look right. She's going to go now to her medical parties with this tag along, right? And, oh, what do you do? I'm a poet. I'm an artist. Okay. It doesn't look right. So people who are older, who've lived more, they could see that you're in college. Now, she's a bio major. He's an English major. Second year of college. You can't see the disparity yet. Right? All this, we're saying, marrying for the wrong reasons. That first puppy love is the wrong reason. She's a bio major with her eye on medical school. He's an English major with his head in the sky. And he just reads poems and Longfellow, Robert Frost, and all these people pasted up on his walls, and that's who he looks up to, and it's what he wants to be like. The dad should look, the mom even was like, oh, no, it's not going to work. I know you guys like each other. It looks like he has, maybe he actually has more money at this moment in time, and you have nothing, and you're just a student. But fast forward 10 years, you're going to have problems. Fast forward 20 years, when there's children's payments to be made and decisions to be made. Where are we going to go? The private school or public school? What house are we going to buy? How are you going to make a decision as a guy who's making 2% of your wife's income, but you're supposed to be the decision maker? How is it fair in any world? We're going to buy this $500,000 house here in New Jersey. That's basically probably like an apartment, right? We're going to buy this let's live in this 4-bedroom house because we're going to have so many kids. But it's $900,000. She says, yeah, I can afford it, right? He says, nah, I don't want to. Who's the one buying? Who's paying? How is this decision going to work? This is going to lead to a clash. The only way it's not going to lead to a clash is the guy metaphorically completely castrates himself and accepts for himself to be a plus one, tag along, stay at home husband type of thing. He accepts it for himself. And then what kind of psychology does that do for her? Right? What happens the day that they have a fight and the head of the surgery department, a divorcee, okay? They cross paths. That's an actual guy that I could look up to, financially speaking. This is a guy who could potentially take care of a family. I got the shoulders of a husband and 4 kids on my back. I don't want this anymore. So here, marrying for the other wrong reason to marry is this youthful love when the elders see that your trajectories are way off, right? So that's something that you keep in mind too. There was a guy, he was a hadith rejecter. Not just he was irreligious. That's an issue, but that's not an aqeedah problem. This guy actively speaks against taking guidance from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Take your guidance only from the Quran, he used to say. Well, Allah Ta'ala punished this man through his daughters. They all married Muslims from like different groups. That's fine in itself, but some of the groups were absurd. One of them was the leader of the Seek the Khilafah in England movement. Try to build the Khilafah here. They have bizarre rules. One of the rules is you can't work. Working contributes to the economy. But what you can do is take welfare and lie to take the welfare because you're taking the money of the kuffar in Dar al-Harb. So take welfare, take as much of it as you can, lie at every turn to get more welfare because you're sucking the money away from the kafirs to yourself. That's the mentality. So what do? They sit at home and argue about the Khilafah online and apply for different welfare programs. Right? How is that? What pride do you have in that family? Another one of them, this one takes the cake. She wanted to marry a guy, and she wanted certain people to meet the guy. So let's have a meeting. We're going to go meet the guy. We get there. There's no guy. There's a computer. Oh, he's going to Skype in because he's in jail. The heck? Yeah, he took his Shahada in jail, and he read the 3 principles or whatever, right? Right? Yeah. What in the world? You're going to marry a guy you're college educated, right? You're going to marry a guy who's basically a small-time thug who took Shahada in jail. That's fine and excellent for him, but how is this match, though? Be realistic. How is this going to match? You're from a family, a Desi family of professionals. You know how these families are? And you're going to bring a guy who has not finished high school and is in jail? How is this going to work? So this puppy love type of stuff, it doesn't work out. And that's a third reason, wrong reason to get married. So the theme here of today's, then the marry for the right reason, that's the first lesson. This you see what Starboard mentorship is all about? This is important. The young guys, before they get married, should be mentored. We should probably have a track for that. Women should also be mentored by other women because there are certain things that I'm sure a woman will do when she's single if she's not careful, and she'll regret it when people are thinking about her for marriage. But we'll leave that for the sisters to deal with the sisters. But young guys, they need to learn, they need to study what's needed well in advance. You know where this stuff's from? High school. Well in advance of marrying, certain things have to be in place. You're not going to have an income overnight. You're not going to have a career track overnight. Someone in your high school days had been drilling it in your head. You're going to need this. You need to learn how to go into a place and earn a check. You need to get good at that. Then you need to start gaining knowledge so you can go into better buildings and get better checks. At the very least, not everyone's going to be a businessman. Most people are going to be professionals, employees. So that's what we're needed here. And they said we're going to look at 3 reasons. Okay. And those are 3 false reasons, wrong reasons why people would get their marriage would be ruined because of these reasons. We said peer pressure, We said looks are it's too good to refuse, mirage, and we said that that false initial puppy love where there's what we call it in fiqh is kafa'a. I believe in the Hanafi school that's a actual condition, right?
No, we studied the Risala on this. I wouldn't say it's a condition.
But it's just as something advice, right?
Advice.
Yeah, it's advice. Kafa'a. There has to be kafa'a. All right. Kafa'a is there's got to be some kind of what do you call it? Compatibility. That's the word.